Okay, guys, it's been a little bit since we've talked about a fragrance from the house of Haramain. So, courtesy of my man Gator, hopefully this one's a banger, man. Strap up. All right. Welcome to the scent bubble. Didn't sound too confident. Looking at my stream deck here, for some reason my stuff wasn't on. There we go. We are live and in full effect. Welcome to the scent bubble. I'm your host for the early evening. Today from the house of Haramain, we have Amber Oud Aqua Dubai, courtesy of my man Gator. He sent me a decant, and as let me preface this episode by saying, as I'm adding and integrating new features for the channel, the bubbles, the intro, the sound effects, etc., it's going to be a little bit sloppy because I'm essentially reprogramming my mind to be on a different type of time to give you guys some of these new features. So I apologize if the consistency and fluidity of, my upcoming episodes is a little bit sloppy. You guys know I've been freestyling since the very beginning. I found my groove back then and I'll find it again. So anyways, Haramain. We got Amber Oud, I think Gold Edition and a couple other things. Haramain L'Aventure, very popular fragrance. I think Amber Oud Gold Edition is like Herba Pura from Xerjoff, if I'm not mistaken. We got Dubai Night. We got Detour Noir, famous Leighton inspiration, we got to say nowadays, so we don't get our channels muted. Haramain makes a lot of consistency in quality, and their fragrances typically range from about 25 to 50 bucks, at least from what I've seen. But yeah, let's see what it's hitting for. This looks like it's probably going to be a blue fragrance. The bottle's blue. So Amber Oud Aqua Dubai. So if you're following what the name suggests, this appears to possibly be a blue fragrance in a nutshell. Aquatic. It says amber. It says oud. So maybe we might get a little bit of both. Off rip though, I get a very, again, this is initial thoughts. What is my initial take on this? I'm going to spray it one more time. Gator knows this, but for some reason there were a couple of fragrances from this batch that had some funk that I had to just kind of spray the fragrance a few times to let it aerate. Yeah, so I'm trying to put this in a nutshell for you guys. I'm sorry I'm at a little bit of loss of words. Part of it's the new format, and that's my son in the background. That's part of it as well. And part of it is just no standout notes so far other than like maybe it's got a little bit of cleaning chemical feel, bright citrusy cleaning chemicals, like a cross between like a window cleaner and a multi-purpose cleaner that's like super organic. I get aquatic, but not really watery, more green. What does this remind me of? I'm trying to look in my collection over here and just see if there's anything that it reminds me of. There is something that it reminds me of. It's just not coming to my mind right now. Well, since we're sitting here dorking around, let me switch screens here and take you to the window here. What do we got for this fragrance? Up top, we have bergamot, green notes, and mandarin orange. That's pretty much the entirety of what I get. You know what this reminds me of? This reminds me of like Taj 2, but stronger. Like, again, initial impressions. Don't fact check me on that, guys. No, but it's pretty close to that. Maybe even like Vintage Green 78 from Banana Republic, but without the fig note. It's got almost a Banana Republic-esque vibe to it, as far as specifically Vintage Green 78. A lot of Banana Republic fragrances kind of have this very loud opening and initial projection, and then they kind of die down really quick. As I'm sure you guys know, Banana Republic fragrances can be awesome for an hour or two, and then typically they kind of run off and become skin scents after about the 4-hour mark. But some of them outperform others, but they're just known for having like really bright, not bright, but very loud openings, and then they just evaporate. This doesn't seem too much the case though. I think the entirety of this fragrance is in that bergamot and green note, and then a mid of amber. It's a bit musky, but not too much. Petitgrain, I'm not so sure. If I was to kind of summarize this for you guys, I think you kind of have to close this, because this fragrance looks a lot more beautiful than it is. Let's jump back out to the main screen. And I'm going to give this the benefit of the doubt and judge it more on the opening than the dry down, even though it's not as important. I just want to make sure I've got my facts straight with this opening in terms of what you initially will smell. That is important, right? You ever heard love at first sniff? Well, there's also hate at first sniff, or disappointed at first sniff. So there has to be some sort of a connection you can make to this fragrance in the opening, and that's what I try to not illustrate. That's what I try to inform you guys of when I'm smelling this fragrance. I personally don't care about the opening, but it does start the story, and it can open your mind to the fragrance or close your mind to the fragrance. Again, I get this like extremely bright, almost lemony, zingy, super bright bergamot. When, I've seen bergamot being, the outside of a bergamot being green, and I've seen the outside of bergamot be yellow. This is definitely like it's borderline limey, but it has the slight sweetness of the lemon, if that makes sense. It's almost all green lime lemon up top, but not lime lemon like Vibrant Vetiver Delight or something where it's more of a sweet. This is a very tart, there we go, that's the word. This is a very tart green citric top. Mid almost just feels like amber. I don't get the melon, the black currant, maybe the tiniest touch of pineapple, but bergamot and green note kind of overrides the pineapple. Yeah, it's like I struggle with these types of fragrance, guys, and you wouldn't think I would because I'm in Arizona. So this would be a perfect fragrance for Arizona hot weather. But I do struggle with these because I look at a fragrance like this, and the first thing I think in my mind is, does this beat something like Coach Open Road or Vintage Green 78 or even Tarathi Blue? This has a very... Actually, that's worth checking out. Forgive me. That is totally worth checking out. Is it better than Tarathi Blue? Because that's what it smells like. We have some Tarathi Blue here. For people who don't, sometimes I forget that you guys might not have smelled Tarathi Blue, and I kind of just assume you have because it's kind of like a go-to in FragCom for clones and inspireds. So I just assume most of you guys know. If you don't know Tarathi Blue, you at least know the Tygar DNA, just kind of like a citrus basket with a little bit of musk. I'm going to let this dry down for half a second. That's what this is. This smells like, this has the light airiness of like a Taj 2, but the flavor profile of Tarathi Blue. Tarathi Blue Taj 2. Chilling with Taj 2 and Tarathi Blue. Yeah, I mean, they're extremely close. I still prefer... Okay, so, let me summarize, and then we'll go to our main suspects of information and then head out. Okay, so this is what you need to know about this fragrance. The basic stuff for it is going to be spring, summer wear, to me, most spring summer wears can be worn in cold. However, you got to ramp up sprays to really make it survive. But as far as a DNA profile, I feel like fresher fragrances tend to be more universal or season round. It just really comes down to performance being lesser or stronger. Whereas I feel cold weather fragrances can't really dress in heat. They can stay indoors in heat. But anyways, I digress. So for the purposes of this video, spring, summer, this is a hot weather fragrance where it could really shine. It looks like the performance is probably somewhere in the 6 to 8 hour range, especially being a fragrant, a freshie, like moderate to slightly, weak. But I think that comes with the territory of this fragrance. I think it should definitely get you through. Miles, do not do that again. Good grief. Okay. So yeah, performance is going to be really average on this. Ageless fragrance for sure. Casual. This is a casual fragrance. Casual everyday wear. I don't think this reads as upscale casual. And in a nutshell, this smells like Tarathi Blue, otherwise known as the kind of Tigar DNA. Now, the difference between Amber Oud Aqua Dubai, which is what we're reviewing today, and Tarathi Blue is they both meet each other about 80%. I would even say like 85% of the way. So 85% of both of these fragrances smell the exact same. Citrus basket, a little bit of green, a little bit amber and musk, okay? Beach fragrances. Or casual outdoor fragrances where you're just kind of wafting in this fresh citrus, green, musk, and amber. Okay, the difference between these two fragrances, which I want to say that because I feel like Tarathi Blue is like what you should compare this to, because it's either if Tarathi Blue is better, you should have this. If this is better, you should have that, right? So the main difference is 85% they are spot on, exactly same, I almost said identity, same DNA. Man, we're sloppy today. That's okay though. And then right at the 85% mark, Amber Oud Aqua Dubai goes soapy. Like really bright citric bar soap, soapy, but it has an airiness to it. It's not like the bar of bar soap. It just at 85%, it kind of dips out of, citrus basket and just goes soapy. Whereas Tarathi Blue gets up and basically what I'm saying is both of these are aquatic green amber fragrances. But as far as the citrus part of the fragrance, which is the top and mid, which stays with the fragrance, this tends to go more soapy than citric. And this goes more citric and not soapy at all. So this feels more like a citrus medley with a little touch of sweetness from citrus as well. This one feels more stays tart and stays green like a bar soap. So that's where they differ, and it comes down to preference. If you want that soap feel with your citrus, this is very bright, bar soapy, greeny, tart citric. This is and still warm though, because it does have amber, whereas Tarathi Blue, and I don't want to make this video about that, but it's kind of sweeter. You can smell more of the actual fruits rather than kind of this tart citrus, like a generic, ness to it. Definitely doesn't smell like bar soap at all. It has a little more charm and love to it. Doesn't make it better. It's just a preference. Soap tart citric, sweet, warm, medley citric. Okay. Fragrance like this runs, let's see on Joma what it's hitting for. Again, Haramain unisex fragrance, Amber Oud Aqua Dubai. Slow Mo Shop is selling it right now for $47 for the 75 ml and $50 for the 100 ml. 75 and 100 ml is such a weird distinction to make. Let's see if what's the website? Man, I am struggling today. Let's see if Fragrance by CA sells this any cheaper. Sold out on Fragrance Buy. Let's see if anywhere else sells it. Might as well bring you guys on the screen with me. Don't trust Temu. Yeah, guys. So it looks like this is sitting around the $40, $50 price point. At that point, you shouldn't even consider the 75. You just need to go straight to the 100. And it does have some great ratings, as you guys can see. 4.4 out of 448 votes. So, I mean, it can be a good fragrance. Just to give you guys a little bit of my opinion, when it comes to... I really struggle with citruses and clean, linen, soapy, because you guys know kind of how I scale this stuff. In the fresh category, you can have, you know, fresh soapy, fresh clean like linen, fresh fruity, fresh citric, which even though citrus is fruit, I don't really consider it fruit because it doesn't, a strawberry doesn't hit in the same way as a lemon, but citric is more like a class of fruits that have a more tartness to them. But anyway, you can have, you know, fresh earthy, fresh aquatic, fresh green. So there's different like facets of fresh, but I think the bottom line is unless something is really giving you like a lot of crazy nuance and dimension, you really shouldn't overspend on clean fragrances. And that's an opinion of mine. It could, you know, there's a reason why fragrances like Green Irish Tweed exist and people love it, or like a Virgin Island Water. You know, that's just some of the names that come to my mind, but there's a space for those type of fragrances, but I think they warrant paying more than, you know, inspiration or clone prices. In this category, this is a more expensive clone. When we talk about clones, most of them sit under $30, and then you kind of have this nuanced tier of like $30 to $60 range. And then lately, it seems like there's been some fragrance companies coming up with this kind of, I don't know, $60 to $80 price point, which is kind of shocking. And then some fragrance companies that are inspiration houses go north of $100 and charge between $100 and $200, which is crazy. Anyways, when it comes to clean, fresh fragrances, I'm not spending a lot of money. I think a house like Calvin Klein does a really good job at hitting all those markers. They got fresh powdery, fresh earthy green, you know, with fragrances like CK1 and CK Defy, and flankers like Summer Breeze, which can give you some charm. They you know, and these are like $15, $20 fragrances that can even be sold as high as like 200 ml. So, you know, you could take like $50 and get 2 or 3 really nice fragrances that cover the clean category. So for me, it's like with this fragrance, I can't believe this is a 20-minute episode. This is really like a concept video that I should be making at a later video. So I'm going to cut myself short, you know, in terms of the approach to clean fragrances. Okay, in a nutshell, for me, as a soapy citric tart fragrance, I don't know if I can justify a $40 to $50 price point, even though the fragrance is good. Doesn't blow my socks off. I would almost even call this average. If I was being gracious, I would give it an 8 out of 10 at the very best. It cannot go over an 8 out of 10 for me because it's just citric tart, soapy, clean. I'm not paying $50 for that. I'm not paying $40 for that. In terms of what I have surveyed today, Tarothi Blue is a fragrance you can pay less than $20 for and get 100 ml, and you'll get in the ballpark of it. Granted, it's a little bit sweeter, a little more citrus basket, but if you want more of linen, you can go with Coach Open Road. And it's the same price as this, but more designer of a fragrance. So I think the quality and performance is going to be a little bit better. That's subjective as well. You can go with something from the Hawass line, even though I think this Al Haramain is just a little bit better, but it's a price difference that you have to kind of weigh. You can go with anything from Banana Republic, which is going to be $15 to $20 for 100 to 150 ml-ish, maybe even 200 ml, I think they even sell bottles for. So yeah, you know, things like Tarothi Blue, Coach Open Road, CK Defy, CK One, Calvin Klein's CK Everyone. Someone could probably make a case that Nautica Voyage can hang with this. You know what I'm saying? So I don't know. At best, 8 out of 10 fragrance. It's a 7 out of 10 for me. Very average as a clean, soapy, citric, tart fragrance. Quality though, doesn't smell synthetic, just not that interesting for its category. So I don't know if I can justify the price point. And I gave you guys a bunch of alternatives. I think this is almost exactly on par with Tyguard DNA, but then goes soapy rather than citric, ambery sweet. Tarothi Blue, I think for that reason would make it a more charming fragrance. But yeah, and I think if you want a soapy alternative, something like 90 Pure White from Banana Republic would be a good option. CK Everyone would be a really good option. Somewhere between the two fragrances would be like Coach Open Road. And I mean, shoot. Yeah, there's actually a lot I could bring up, but we'll kind of leave it at that. Yeah, let me know if you guys have tried this fragrance, and make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. Turn on that notification bell so you guys can, be tuned in to all of the good fragrance content that I have coming up. I know this was a little bit of a sloppy episode, but I'm going to keep it because I worked hard to give you guys this good info. Again, this was from the house of Al Haramain. This was Amber Oud Aqua Dubai, and I might be a minority. 4.4 rating out of 448 reviews. So are you going to trust the reviews, or are you going to internalize what I have to say and make the best decision for you guys? Good is not always good for you. And that's why I'm trying to be unbiased in my information, but also give my bias side of it, because we're all biased. We all have preferences. And I'm going to tell you why I prefer a different fragrance over this, even though it's a good fragrance. So you guys might find it to be excellent. Definitely put your nose to it before you drop 50 bucks on it. In my opinion, find somebody who has it, throw you some decant or whatever. But I think I've described this fragrance good enough so that you know what to expect if you decide to pull the trigger on a fragrance like this. And for those of you who don't, you have some great alternatives out there for less money. This is the Scent Bubble. Hope y'all stay blessed. And until next time, peace.